There's a quiet paradox living inside every Sigma INFJ, a mind that feels everything yet refuses to be broken by it. They love deeply, sense motives instantly, and read emotional undercurrents long before words are spoken. But over time, that sensitivity becomes armor. After being misunderstood, used, and betrayed, the Sigma INFJ doesn't stop caring, they just stop bleeding for it. They become a rare contradiction, too empathic to hurt others and too intelligent to ever let the same pain reach them twice. This paradox is not born from arrogance, it's born from awakening. The Sigma INFJ has seen the cost of loving without boundaries, of saving people who don't want to be saved. They've learned that wisdom sometimes means walking away, not out of pride, but preservation. Now they move like water, calm, observant, and unreadable. The world sees serenity, but behind that calm is strategy, and behind that kindness is unshakable discernment. This video dives into the dual nature of the Sigma INFJ, the healer and the strategist, the empath and the analyst, and why this balance makes them both misunderstood and unstoppable. You'll see how their pain turns into intuition, how their boundaries become silent power, and why once they evolve, no one ever truly gets close enough to wound them again. If you've ever felt too deep for this world, too awake for small talk, and too guarded to be fooled, this one is for you. Subscribe to Brainy for more explorations into INFJ psychology, emotional intelligence, and the paradoxes that define rare minds. And tell me in the comments, do you think empathy and intelligence can coexist in perfect balance, or does one always come at the cost of the other? The emotional strategist. Feeling with foresight. The Sigma INFJ doesn't just feel emotions, they forecast them. Every interaction is a map, every expression a pattern, every silence a clue. They can sense tension before it's spoken, heartbreak before it happens, and betrayal before it's revealed. It's not magic, it's emotional intelligence sharpened by experience. After being blindsided too many times, they learn to turn empathy into a kind of strategy, where once they absorbed everything like a sponge, now they filter it like a scientist. They still feel deeply, but they no longer drown in those feelings. When someone new enters their orbit, the Sigma INFJ doesn't just listen, they read. They read tone, body language, microexpressions, even the pauses between words. They see the difference between sincerity and performance long before most people catch up. This foresight isn't cold calculation, it's emotional survival. Their intuition acts like radar, scanning for inconsistencies, for those subtle shifts that reveal hidden motive. And while others call it overthinking, the Sigma INFJ knows it's simply awareness, an evolved instinct to protect both their heart and their peace. But what makes this foresight powerful isn't the ability to predict, it's the discipline not to react. They can see the storm forming yet stand calm in its presence. That's the paradox, feeling everything while maintaining control. Their heart feels the pulse of every room, yet their mind stays grounded in analysis. They can empathize with your pain while still understanding when it's manipulation disguised as vulnerability. That balance, compassion guided by perception, is what makes the Sigma INFJ an emotional strategist. This ability often intimidates people. The Sigma INFJ seems to know too much, care too precisely, and detach too effortlessly. But that's the result of emotional mastery, the kind that comes only from having once cared without caution. They learned that love without awareness invites chaos, and awareness without love leads to cynicism. So they chose the middle path, to feel with foresight. It's this quiet, watchful power that makes them impossible to deceive. You can lie with words, but not with energy. And the Sigma INFJ reads energy like truth itself. Their empathy no longer exposes them, it equips them. The pattern memory, remembering pain as data. The Sigma INFJ doesn't forget pain, they archive it. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every moment of confusion becomes part of an internal database they quietly refine. To the outside world, it might seem like they've moved on, but beneath the calm exterior, their mind is working like a forensic analyst of human behavior. They don't hold grudges, they hold patterns. The tone someone used before lying, the micro change in energy before manipulation, all of it gets stored. So when a similar situation arises again, they no longer need to think, they know. This isn't bitterness, it's evolution. Pain taught the Sigma INFJ what words could never explain. They've been the fixer, the forgiver, the one who saw good in everyone, and they've paid the price for it. But instead of turning cold, they turned wise. They started connecting emotional dots others don't even see. What once broke them now informs them. They treat pain not as a wound to relive, but as data to decode. Every betrayal becomes a study in psychology. Every disappointment a chapter in emotional intelligence. They've learned that understanding people deeply means observing not only who they are, but who they become when their needs aren't met. And so when someone new comes along, the Sigma INFJ doesn't just see the person in front of them. They see the pattern, the energy signature that mirrors past lessons. That's why they're hard to manipulate. They've met your archetype before. You might think you're unique, but they've already met your emotional twin somewhere in their story. That quiet smile they give, it's not naivety, it's recognition. This pattern memory makes the Sigma INFJ both empathic and impenetrable. They feel everything but fall for nothing. They understand humanity's repeating cycles, the way charm hides control, how love can mask fear, and how ego disguises emptiness. What once felt like a curse of sensitivity becomes a superpower of foresight. To the untrained eye, they seem detached, but in truth, they're analyzing in real time, using past pain as their emotional compass. They no longer chase closure, they recognize repetition. And that's how they win, quietly, not by avoiding pain, but by decoding it before it even arrives. Boundaries built from betrayal. The Sigma INFJ didn't learn boundaries from books or therapy sessions. They learned them the hard way, through betrayal. Every time they gave too much of their energy to people who only took, every time they trusted words that didn't align with actions, a line was drawn somewhere deep within. It wasn't a dramatic shift, it was quiet, gradual, and deeply personal. One day, they simply stopped explaining themselves, stopped overgiving, and stopped expecting others to understand what they would never reciprocate. Betrayal became the blueprint that taught them self-respect. In their earlier years, the Sigma INFJ believed that kindness could heal broken people. They thought empathy could transform dishonesty into honesty and indifference into care, but the world taught them otherwise. Being the understanding one often meant becoming the emotional sponge for people who thrived on chaos. So the INFJ built boundaries not from anger, but from clarity. They realized love without limits invites abuse, and forgiveness without accountability invites repetition. Their compassion didn't fade, it evolved. Now it comes with discernment, a quiet awareness of who's worth their energy and who only drains it. When a Sigma INFJ sets a boundary, it's not loud or defensive, it's calm. It's an invisible door that simply stops opening. They don't announce it, they just withdraw access. And that's what confuses people the most, the absence of confrontation. The INFJ doesn't fight to prove a point anymore. They preserve their peace instead. Their silence is no longer weakness, it's self-control forged in emotional fire. Those who once betrayed them rarely understand what changed. They still see the same kind eyes, the same calm presence, but they no longer have access to the heart behind them. That's the quiet revenge of the Sigma INFJ. Not hatred, not retaliation, but elevation. Boundaries to them are no longer walls to keep people out, they are filters to keep peace in. And while betrayal once broke their trust in others, it eventually built their trust in themselves. Now they no longer chase understanding, they embody it. The lesson was painful, but it was priceless. Betrayal is not the end, it's the beginning of wisdom. Empathy without attachment. The Sigma INFJ's empathy runs deep, but not blind. After years of feeling everything and saving everyone, they've learned one of life's hardest lessons. You can care without carrying. They still read emotions like open books, still sense pain behind smiles, still notice the slightest tremor in someone's tone, but now they do it without losing themselves in the process. Their empathy has matured from a reflex into a refined skill. It's no longer about absorbing other people's energy. It's about understanding it, decoding it, and deciding whether it deserves a place in their emotional world. Once upon a time, the INFJ's empathy was their greatest weakness. They would feel the sadness of others as if it were their own, confusing compassion with responsibility. They believed that love meant fixing what was broken, even if it meant breaking themselves. But pain taught them discernment. It showed them that not every tear deserves their healing, not every apology means change, and not every connection is meant to be kept. Slowly, their empathy became less about rescue and more about respect for both themselves and others. Now, when someone enters their life in chaos, the Sigma INFJ observes before engaging. They see the wound, the motive, the pattern. They can offer warmth without enmeshment, understanding without obligation. They've learned the art of standing close enough to feel, but far enough to think. This detachment isn't coldness, it's clarity. It's the emotional distance that keeps their heart intact while still allowing them to love. What confuses others is how the INFJ can show so much care while remaining so composed. They seem emotionally available, but untouchable, compassionate, but unshakable. That's because their empathy now operates through awareness, not attachment. They no longer mistake intensity for intimacy or chaos for connection. Their heart no longer overrules their wisdom, it works with it. And that's what makes the Sigma INFJ so rare. They can walk through emotional storms without getting wet. They feel everything, but are mastered by nothing. Their empathy no longer consumes them, it empowers them. In a world that mistakes detachment for indifference, the Sigma INFJ knows the truth. Real love doesn't require losing yourself. It requires knowing exactly where you end and someone else begins. The shift from fixing to observing. There comes a silent revolution inside every Sigma INFJ the moment they stop trying to fix people and start simply watching them. It's not that they stop caring, it's that they finally understand the difference between compassion and control. For years, they believed that if they just loved harder, listened longer, or explained better, they could heal the brokenness in others. But experience has taught them that some people don't want healing. They want attention, power, or validation. Some people don't want healing, they want attention, power, or validation. And so the Sigma INFJ shifts from the role of rescuer to observer, from emotional laborer to silent witness. This change doesn't happen overnight. It often comes after exhaustion, after giving everything to people who only took. The INFJ reaches a point where they can predict the pattern, the crisis, the apology, the promise, the repeat. Eventually, the cycle becomes so clear it loses its emotional pull. That's when the Sigma INFJ steps back, not with anger but with insight. They start to study behavior rather than react to it. Every interaction becomes data, every inconsistency becomes information. Instead of absorbing chaos, they analyze it. When they observe, they see more. The subtle manipulation beneath kindness, the insecurity behind arrogance, the fear hiding inside cruelty. And once they see it, they no longer feel the need to fix it. They understand that healing is a personal responsibility, not a shared assignment. Their empathy evolves into awareness, and their awareness becomes peace. People around them notice the shift. The INFJ who once carried everyone now seems lighter, quieter, yet strangely more powerful. Their silence unsettles manipulators who used to thrive on reaction. Their calm confuses those who relied on guilt. By choosing to observe instead of fix, the Sigma INFJ reclaims control over their own emotional energy, the very currency that once kept others alive at their expense. This transformation marks their true awakening. They realize that real strength doesn't come from saving people, it comes from not losing yourself trying to. And in that clarity, they rediscover something sacred. Not everyone deserves their energy, but everyone can teach them something. Observation becomes their armor, detachment their wisdom, and peace their quiet rebellion. Decoding intention before it's spoken. The Sigma INFJ doesn't wait for words, they read the air. Long before someone speaks, they've already felt the shift in tone, caught the flicker in their eyes, and sensed the energy beneath the surface. It's not magic, it's emotional pattern recognition sharpened by years of quiet observation. Every pause, every micro expression, every subtle inconsistency tells a story. To others, it seems supernatural, as if the INFJ can read minds. But what they're truly reading is intention. And that, more than anything, is what protects them from the manipulative and the insincere. This ability was born from survival, not curiosity. In their past, the Sigma INFJ often found themselves surrounded by people who said one thing and meant another. They learned early that words lie, but energy doesn't. So they trained themselves, consciously or not, to listen to the frequency beneath the message. They began to notice when a smile carried tension, when kindness was strategic, when silence hid resentment. Over time, this became second nature, like breathing. Now, before someone finishes their sentence, the INFJ already knows whether they're being genuine or playing a game. What makes this ability so powerful is how quietly it operates. The Sigma INFJ never announces that they've seen through someone. They simply adjust their energy accordingly. They become colder, calmer, less accessible. Their stillness is not disinterest, it's a silent recalibration. They're constantly decoding. Is this person safe? Are they authentic? Do they want connection or control? Their intuition rarely fails, and when it does, it's usually because they wanted to believe otherwise. This deep awareness can be both a blessing and a curse. It gives the INFJ emotional clarity that few possess, but it also isolates them. When you can see through masks, small talk feels pointless and relationships become more complex. But over time, they stop seeing this as loneliness and start viewing it as freedom. Knowing someone's intention before they speak allows them to navigate life without constant disappointment. To the Sigma INFJ, energy speaks louder than words ever will. And once you've learned to decode it, deception loses its power. That's why they move through life with quiet confidence, not because they know everything, but because they can feel the truth long before anyone dares to say it. Peace is their silent weapon. For the Sigma INFJ, peace is not a mood, it's a strategy. It's the invisible force that disarms chaos, exposes manipulation, and reclaims control without ever raising a voice. Where others argue, the Sigma INFJ becomes still. Where others seek revenge, they become calm. To outsiders, this silence can seem passive, but it's anything but. Their peace is precision, a psychological shield that speaks louder than confrontation ever could. It's the quiet refusal to engage in energy battles they've already won internally. They've learned through pain that reacting gives power away. Every outburst, every explanation, every emotional chase only feeds the very people who drain them. So instead, they choose silence, not because they don't feel deeply, but because they've mastered the art of feeling without performing. Their calm unsettles those who thrive on chaos. It exposes the instability in others while keeping their own energy protected. When a narcissist rages, when a manipulator provokes, when an insecure person tries to control, the Sigma INFJ doesn't flinch. Their composure becomes the mirror that reflects back the other person's lack of it. This peace is hard-earned. It comes after years of being misunderstood, gaslighted, or emotionally drained. There was a time when the INFJ would over-explain, defend their intentions, and try to fix every storm. But one day, they realized true power doesn't need to prove itself. That realization changed everything. Now, instead of matching someone's chaos, they rise above it quietly, deliberately, completely. Their silence becomes both a statement and a boundary. What others see as detachment is, in truth, transformation. Peace gives them perspective. It allows them to observe without absorbing, to choose responses instead of reactions, and to protect their emotional world from unnecessary noise. People who once thrived on their empathy now find themselves powerless in front of their calm. It's not revenge, it's evolution. The Sigma INFJ's peace is not weakness, it's warfare conducted with grace. It's the moment when their energy no longer dances to anyone else's rhythm. It's the smile that says, I see everything, but I choose nothing that costs my peace. That's when they win, not by dominance, not by words, but by emotional sovereignty. Solitude that strengthens, not isolates. For the Sigma INFJ, solitude is not an escape, it's maintenance. It's where they return to remember who they are after the world has tried to make them forget. To most people, being alone feels like emptiness. To the Sigma INFJ, it feels like oxygen. Solitude is where they recharge their emotional circuitry, filter through noise, and reconnect the quiet clarity that defines their power. It's not loneliness, it's alignment. It's not withdrawal, it's refinement. In the silence, they are not running away from life, they're recalibrating for it. This relationship with solitude wasn't always peaceful. In their younger years, the INFJ often felt alienated, misunderstood by those who mistook their depth for distance. But over time, they realized that solitude was never the problem. The wrong company was. Once they stopped trying to belong in shallow places, they discovered the richness of their own world. The conversations in their mind became more meaningful than the noise of surface relationships. The quiet moments became productive, creative, even sacred. But when a Sigma INFJ disappears for a while, it's not a vanishing act, it's a ritual of restoration. In solitude, they analyze experiences, decode emotions, and turn pain into wisdom. Every withdrawal makes them sharper, calmer, more self-assured. They emerge not with resentment, but with clarity. Solitude strengthens them because it strips away illusion, the illusion of needing constant connection, validation, or approval to feel complete. People often misinterpret this behavior. They assume the Sigma INFJ is detached, cold, or disinterested. But what they don't realize is that solitude is the INFJ's forge, the place where strength is tempered, emotions are refined, and purpose is reborn. When they return from it, they carry an unshakable sense of self. They no longer bend for comfort or shrink for acceptance. Their independence intimidates the insecure because it cannot be controlled or guilted. Solitude, for them, is not isolation, it's empowerment. It's where peace becomes strategy and strategy becomes strength. In that sacred stillness, they remember that their energy is a privilege, not a right. And when they step back into the world, they do so not to seek connection, but to choose it. The transformation from idealist to realist. Every Sigma INFJ starts as an idealist, someone who believes in the goodness of people, the purity of love, and the promise that truth always prevails. They see the world not as it is, but as it could be. That's what makes them extraordinary. Their vision, their hope, their deep-rooted belief that sincerity can fix what's broken. But life, in its brutal honesty, slowly teaches them that not everyone values authenticity, and not every heart is built to match their depth. That lesson doesn't shatter them, it reshapes them. It's the moment they begin their quiet transformation from idealist to realist. This shift doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow, painful evolution, forged in betrayal, disappointment, and endless cycles of giving too much. The INFJ begins to notice the patterns, how people promise forever but mean for now, how kindness is mistaken for weakness, and how truth often makes others uncomfortable. The more they see, the less they romanticize, yet even as they grow more discerning, they never become cynical. Their realism is different. It's clarity without bitterness, logic wrapped in empathy. They stop expecting fairness and start mastering emotional discernment. Where the idealist once tried to save everyone, the realist now observes quietly. They no longer chase validation or seek to be understood. They understand that not all battles are worth fighting, not all people deserve access, and not all pain requires explanation. This is not a loss of innocence. It's the birth of wisdom. The Sigma INFJ learns to use reality as armor, not as a cage. This transformation gives them a strange kind of serenity. They stop reacting to the world's unpredictability because they've learned to expect it. They no longer confuse hope with attachment or compassion with obligation. Their heart remains open, but guarded by truth, not fantasy. The realist INFJ is powerful because they still feel deeply, but now they see clearly. They no longer seek perfection in people, they seek alignment. They no longer dream of changing the world through others, they begin by mastering themselves. What was once naive idealism becomes grounded vision. And that transformation, that merging of heart and logic, is what turns a fragile dreamer into a quiet force of nature. Unshakable serenity, when wisdom replaces wounds. There comes a point in every Sigma INFJ's journey when the storms that once tore them apart no longer move them. It's not that they've stopped feeling, it's that they've learned how to feel without drowning. This is the stage where pain transforms into perspective and wounds turn into wisdom. What once triggered them now teaches them. What once shattered them now strengthens their foundation. This isn't coldness, it's evolution. It's the quiet moment when serenity becomes their default setting and peace stops being something they chase because it's something they are. Through countless betrayals, losses, and emotional wars, the Sigma INFJ has realized that suffering is not the enemy, attachment to it is. They've seen how pain, when resisted, multiplies, but when observed, it dissolves. So they stop fighting it. They let it pass through them like a river through stone, wearing them smooth but never breaking them. This acceptance doesn't make them detached, it makes them powerful. They no longer waste energy trying to change what's already written. Instead, they master the only thing they can truly control: their response. The once sensitive soul who used to overthink, overfeel, and overgive now walks through chaos with a quiet calm. Their silence is no longer heavy, it's healing. Their solitude no longer feels empty, it feels sacred. And their empathy no longer drains them, it guides them. They see people's pain without absorbing it, understand motives without judgment, and sense manipulation without reacting. That level of awareness is what makes them untouchable. Those who once underestimated them sense this shift immediately. The INFJ's energy changes, softer yet sharper, kinder yet firmer. They've stopped explaining their peace because it doesn't require permission. They've learned that serenity is not found in avoiding pain, but in transcending it. Now their calm unsettles the chaotic. Their stillness intimidates the insecure. Their detachment confuses the manipulative. But for those who've earned their presence, it feels like standing in the warmth of quiet sunlight, steady, unwavering, real. The Sigma INFJ's serenity is not silence, it's mastery. It's the reward for every heartbreak, every betrayal, every lonely night spent rebuilding themselves. Because once wisdom replaces wounds, nothing and no one can shake them again. If you've ever reached that quiet stage where peace feels heavier than words, you understand what true transformation looks like. The Sigma INFJ doesn't shout their strength, they embody it. Every lesson, every scar, every sleepless night led them to this calm clarity where wisdom finally outweighs pain. And maybe that's the real definition of healing. Not erasing your past, but standing taller because of it. If this resonated with you, it's probably because you've walked that same lonely path, the one that turns overthinking into insight, heartbreak into discernment, and solitude into strength. So tell me in the comments, have you reached that moment where you no longer chase peace because it already lives inside you? And if you're still on your way there, stay close. On this channel, we talk about growth that's quiet, power that's unseen, and the kind of emotional evolution most people will never understand. Subscribe to Brainy One because your journey toward calm mastery isn't over, it's just getting started.